In the last century, science and industry promised us a life of ease, where technology liberates us from the burdens of daily chores and the unpredictability of nature. Chemistry stood at the heart of this new era, fueling dreams of progress and prosperity. Laboratories buzzed with innovation as scientists raced to create compounds that would change the world. Nylon, introduced in the 1930s, changed fashion forever and brought about a trend of widespread innovations into clothing as well as wartime materials. The 20th century was soon marred by a wave of inventions. Plastics soon reshaped our kitchens, while pesticides like DDT promised perfect gardens and bountiful harvests. Everyday life was transformed by these innovations. Tupperware made food storage safer and more convenient, while aerosol sprays brought new ease to cleaning and personal care. The chemical industry's creations became symbols of modernity and progress. Companies marketed these inventions as lifestyles, selling us freedom from nature's inconveniences. We wanted stain-proof carpets, waterproof jackets, and grease-resistant packaging, believing these advances would make life simpler and better. The introduction of Teflon in the 1940s, for example, made non-stick cookware a household staple. The chemical industry delivered on these desires, churning out innovations at a dizzying pace and making the extraordinary seem ordinary in our everyday lives. Supermarkets filled with packaged foods, synthetic fabrics, and cleaning products became the new normal. Bakelite, the first synthetic plastic, revolutionizing manufacturing in the 1920s. Each new product was celebrated as a symbol of progress and hope. No one really paused to question the long-term effects or hidden consequences of this chemical revolution. The allure was irresistible. Less work, more leisure, and a sense of control over our environment. Our homes became sanctuaries of comfort, shaped by invisible forces we barely understood. Microwave ovens, synthetic carpets, and plastic toys became everyday essentials. These chemicals became the invisible scaffolding of modern life, promising perfection and efficiency, woven into the very fabric of our daily routines. Disposable culture flourished, with single-use plastics and fast food packaging becoming ubiquitous. But beneath the surface, the true cost of this chemical comfort was quietly accumulating, hidden in attics, waterways, and the very air we breathe. By the late 20th century, concerns about pollution and environmental damage began to emerge. The foundations of our chemical utopia were not as stable as we believed. Lead paint, toxic waste, and persistent pollutants. The price of convenience, pollution, waste, and health concerns are forcing us to confront the legacy of our choices. Scientists began to link certain chemicals to health risks, sparking public debate and regulatory action. Our pursuit of an easier life has left us with a legacy which cannot be ignored, a challenge that will define the next century as surely as chemistry defined the last. The story of chemical comforts is not just about innovation, but balance between progress and responsibility. Few inventions captured the spirit of chemical progress like Teflon. In the post-war era, the world was hungry for innovation, and the laboratory became a place where the future was being shaped, one experiment at a time. Scientists were on the verge of discoveries that would change daily life forever. But before Teflon, the story of cookware was one of constant struggle, food sticking, pans burning, and endless scrubbing, no matter the culture or cuisine. Across the globe, cooks relied on cast iron, copper, and clay, each with its own quirks and challenges. The dream of a truly non-stick surface was universal, but it seemed out of reach. Then, in 1938, a happy accident changed everything. Dr. Roy Plunkett, a young chemist at DuPont, was experimenting with refrigerant gases when he discovered a strange, slippery white powder coating the inside of a gas canister. This was polytetrafluoroethylene, later branded as Teflon. Its non-stick magic came from its nearly indestructible carbon-fluorine bonds, making it one of the slipperiest substances known to science. At first, Teflon was used in military and industrial applications, prized for its resistance to heat and chemicals. But it wasn't long before marketers saw its potential in the kitchen. The first Teflon-coated frying pan hit the market in 1954 in France under the brand name Tefal. Soon, American kitchens followed suit. Advertisements promised a revolution. No more stuck eggs, no more burnt pancakes, and no more endless scrubbing. The non-stick pan was a revelation for home cooks and professional chefs alike. Cooking became easier, and cleaning up was no longer a dreaded chore. The non-stick pan quickly became a symbol of modern efficiency, embraced by households everywhere. It represented a new era of convenience, where technology promised to make life simpler and more enjoyable for everyone. The public embraced the non-stick revolution with open arms. Cookware sales soared, and Teflon became a household name. In kitchens from Paris to Tokyo, from New York to Mumbai, the non-stick pan was celebrated as a miracle of modern science. But Teflon was just the beginning. Its success inspired a wave of innovation as chemists explored new ways to harness the power of these remarkable materials. Soon its chemical family, PFAS, found their way into waterproof jackets, stain-resistant carpets, and more. These substances promised to repel water, oil, and stains, making everyday products more durable and easier to maintain. The very quality that made them so useful, their resistance to heat, water, and oil, was seen as a triumph. Manufacturers boasted about products that could withstand almost anything, and consumers eagerly bought into the promise of a cleaner, more resilient world. These chemicals promised products that would last forever, and we celebrated their permanence. The idea of forever chemicals seemed like a dream come true, a guarantee that our belongings would stand the test of time. We didn't realize that forever would become a problem. As these materials accumulated in landfills and the environment, their indestructibility began to raise new questions. The durability we prized would soon reveal a darker side. What once seemed like a miracle of modern science was quietly becoming a source of concern. Our miracle material was quietly building a legacy of persistence. Decades after their invention, these products remained unchanged, refusing to break down or disappear. What seemed like progress was, in fact, the start of a much bigger problem, one that would challenge our understanding of innovation, responsibility, and the true cost of convenience. The story of the non-stick pan is more than a tale of convenience. It's a lesson in how every miracle of science can cast a long shadow, shaping our world in ways we never expected. Teflon's runaway success didn't just revolutionize kitchens. It opened the floodgates for PFAS chemicals to quietly infiltrate nearly every aspect of daily life, often without us even noticing. But the story doesn't end at the stovetop. PFAS, or per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, are a group of over 12,000 chemicals, and their spread has been both vast and insidious. These so-called forever chemicals made carpets stain-proof, jackets waterproof, and even fast food wrappers grease-resistant, promising a cleaner, easier, and more convenient world. In fact, by the early 2000s, over 98% of Americans had detectable levels of PFAS in their blood, according to the CDC. PFAS were woven into the fabric of our lives, hidden in clothing, blended into cosmetics, and layered into food packaging, often without any warning labels or public awareness. They're found in waterproof mascara, long-lasting lipsticks, and even dental floss. The food industry lined pizza boxes and popcorn bags with PFAS to keep grease at bay, ensuring our favorite snacks stayed fresh and mess-free, but at a hidden cost. A 2017 study found that nearly half of all fast food wrappers tested in the US contained PFAS. Soon, these chemicals were everywhere, mixed into paints, built into electronics, coating dental floss, and even packed into firefighting foams, spreading far beyond the kitchen. Firefighting foams alone have contaminated thousands of sites worldwide, including military bases and airports. Their use became so widespread that avoiding them was nearly impossible. From the products we bought to the places we lived, PFAS became a silent companion in our daily routines. In the US alone, over 6,000 consumer products are estimated to contain PFAS. We were surrounded by PFAS inside and out, touching them every day, on our skin, in our homes, and even in the air we breathed, without realizing it. Studies have found PFAS in household dust, tap water, and even rain. The invisible barrier that protected our things was now part of our environment, leaching into landfills, rivers, and the very soil beneath our feet. PFAS have been detected in wildlife, from polar bears in the Arctic to fish in local streams. Our relentless quest for convenience had made PFAS a permanent fixture in modern life, woven into the rhythm of our cities and the comfort of our homes. Today, PFAS contamination has been found in the drinking water of over 200 million Americans. We accepted their presence without question, rarely stopping to consider what these chemicals might mean for our health or our future. Even everyday items like receipts and cash have been found to contain PFAS. The chemical miracle is leaving a legacy that would prove far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. As we continue to uncover the extent of PFAS contamination, the true cost of convenience only begins to emerge. The same stability that made PFAS so useful now makes them a global threat. These chemicals don't break down. They persist in landfills, water and soil for generations. PFAS travel the world, contaminating even the most remote places and accumulating in wildlife. They build up in the food chain, concentrating in our bodies over time. Our bodies can't easily get rid of them, so the burden grows with every exposure. The promise of convenience masked a creeping, invisible contamination. We celebrated their indestructibility, never asking what would happen if they ended up in us. Now, we're living with the consequences of a chemical that was never meant to disappear. The question we fail to ask, what happens when forever chemicals end up in our blood, is one we can no longer ignore. Once PFAS enter our bodies, they're here to stay. Their structure allows them to mimic natural molecules, sneaking past our defenses and embedding deep within our organs. Drinking water, food, and even household dust are common sources of exposure. PFAS bind to proteins in our blood and accumulate in organs, lingering for years or decades. Nearly every American has PFAS in their blood, a chemical legacy passed down through generations. Even low-level ongoing exposure leads to a slow, dangerous buildup. The danger isn't immediate poisoning, but chronic, long-term disruption of our biology. These chemicals sit silently in our systems, their effects only now coming to light. Our bodies have become archives of a chemical revolution we never truly understood. For decades, companies knew the risks of PFAS, but kept them secret. Internal studies showed links to cancer, liver damage, and birth defects as early as the 1960s. Instead of warning the public, they hid the evidence and reassured consumers. Independent research has now linked PFAS to kidney and testicular cancer, thyroid disease, and immune system problems. Children are especially vulnerable. PFAS cross the placenta and are found in breast milk, affecting development and immunity. The health crisis we face today is the result of corporate deception and delayed action. The public was denied the chance to make informed choices. The harm caused by these chemicals will echo for generations. Profit was prioritized over safety, leaving a legacy of suffering. Under pressure, companies phased out some PFAS, only to replace them with new, barely tested versions. These short-chain PFAS were marketed as safer, but early evidence suggests they're just as persistent and potentially harmful. They move more easily through water and soil, making contamination even harder to control. The health risks of these new chemicals are still emerging, but the warning signs are there. Regulating PFAS one by one is futile. There are thousands of variations. Scientists now urge treating PFAS as a single class to prevent endless cycles of substitution. We must demand proof of safety before new chemicals enter our lives. The toxic treadmill must end. We know PFAS are dangerous, but we're only beginning to understand how they harm us at the cellular level. Research is urgently needed to uncover how these chemicals disrupt hormones, trigger cancer, and weaken immunity. There's growing concern that PFAS could even damage our DNA, with effects that might be passed to future generations. Independent, publicly funded science, not industry, must lead the way. We need to study not just individual PFAS, but the cocktail of chemicals we're exposed to daily. Companies that profited from PFAS must help fund this research and the cleanup. Accountability is not optional, it's essential. Only through science and responsibility can we hope to repair the damage. The PFAS story is a warning about the dangers of unchecked innovation and corporate neglect. We must demand accountability from the companies that polluted our world. The future depends on green chemistry, creating materials that are safe from start to finish. Products must be designed with their entire life cycle in mind, ensuring they don't harm people or the planet. Ongoing independent research is crucial to finding solutions and protecting public health. The truth about PFAS is out, and a global movement for change is growing. By raising our voices and demanding stronger regulations, we can turn the tide. The journey to a PFAS-free world will be long, but it's necessary. We all have a right to clean water, safe products, and a healthy future. Let's work together to reclaim that right and build a safer tomorrow.